Picture this. It's the absolute height of the Cold War. A U.S. bomber carrying 4 thermonuclear weapons literally falls from the sky into the permanent freezing darkness of the Arctic winter. The official story they told everyone was, don't worry, it was a successful cleanup. But the reality? That was a secret buried deep in the ice. So in this explainer, we are breaking down the declassified story of a nuclear accident in one of the most hostile places on the entire planet.
To really wrap your head around what happened, you first have to understand where it happened. This quote really says it all, doesn't it? The Arctic isn't just a location on a map. It's an adversary. We're talking about a cold that's just relentless, disorienting whiteouts where you can't see your own hands, and weeks of total darkness. A truly hostile stage for the kind of high-stakes drama that was about to unfold.
And this is the scar it left behind. On January 21st, 1968, a U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber slammed onto the sea ice near Thule Air Base in Greenland. The impact literally burned this violent, dark stain of jet fuel and radioactive debris right into the otherwise pristine, white landscape. So how in the world did a state-of-the-art strategic bomber end up in a million pieces on the ice? You might think it was a missile or some kind of enemy action, but the answer is, well, it's terrifyingly simple. It was a fire that started inside the cabin.
And things went south with just terrifying speed. At 3:20 p.m., a fire breaks out. It starts with some cushions near a heater vent. Can you believe it? Within 10 minutes, the cockpit is totally filled with smoke, all the electrical systems are failing, and the crew has no choice. They have to bail out. Just 9 minutes after that, the pilotless bomber, now a ghost plane, slams into the ice of North Star Bay. 6 crew members survived that ejection. 1, sadly, did not.
For the survivors who were now parachuting down into that chaos, and for the recovery teams that would soon follow, this was the reality they were facing. Minus 40 degrees, in the pitch black of the Arctic night. I mean, in those conditions, your skin freezes in moments. Survival isn't measured in hours, it's measured in minutes.
You know, the Pentagon has a special name for this kind of event, a broken arrow. It's the official code for an accident involving a nuclear weapon, but, and this is key, one that doesn't create an immediate risk of war. It's a very clinical, very sterile term for an absolutely terrifying scenario. But that brings up a really important question. Why was a B-52 carrying nuclear weapons flying over Greenland in the first place? Well, the answer lies in the paranoid but very real logic of the Cold War, in a top-secret operation known as Chrome Dome.
The whole point of Operation Chrome Dome was simple: guarantee retaliation. The idea was that even if a Soviet surprise attack wiped out all the U.S. bases on the ground, our nuclear-armed bombers would already be in the air ready to strike back. This particular B-52 was one of those airborne sentinels, flying a constant patrol just over the North Pole, a stone's throw from the Soviet Union. So let's talk about what was on board. This B-52 was carrying 4, count 'em, 4 thermonuclear bombs. Each one had a yield of 1.1 megatons. To put that in perspective, that's more than 70 times the power of the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. Now, thankfully, safety mechanisms worked as they should and prevented a full nuclear detonation. But the conventional high explosives inside the bombs, they did go off on impact, shattering the weapons and scattering their radioactive cores all over the ice. What happened next triggered a massive response. This was the public-facing part of the story, right? The heroic cleanup effort against just impossible odds. They called it Operation Crested Ice. Informally, it got the nickname Dr. Freezelove, which is a bit of dark humor there. It was a desperate race against the clock. The mission was to scrape up every single piece of that plane and all the contaminated snow and ice before the spring thaw came and washed all that radioactivity into the ocean. And the stuff they were dealing with was no joke. The blast had scattered this cocktail of highly toxic and radioactive elements. We're talking plutonium, one of the most dangerous substances known to exist. Uranium, americium, tritium. This wasn't just picking up trash. It was dealing with an invisible, long-lasting poison. After 3 grueling months of working in the dark and the brutal cold, the U.S. officially announced mission accomplished. Operation Crested Ice was done. The site was clean and all 4 bombs, or what was left of them, had been accounted for. Case closed. Or, at least that's what the public was told. But this is where the story takes a turn.
Because declassified documents have since revealed that long after the official cleanup was declared over, a secret search was still going on for something they claimed to have already found.
And that's the real question, isn't it? If all 4 bombs were destroyed and recovered, just like they said, what could possibly be left to find at the bottom of a freezing Arctic bay? For decades, the rumor mill churned. People thought an entire intact hydrogen bomb was just sitting at the bottom of the ocean. But the declassified truth is actually a lot more specific, and in some ways, it's even more troubling. They weren't looking for a whole bomb. They were looking for one single critical component. The missing piece had a nickname, the Marshall's batten. What was it? It was the fissile core, the quote-unquote spark plug of the bomb's secondary fusion stage. This is the piece you absolutely need to kick off the fusion reaction. In the wrong hands, this thing would be an intelligence goldmine. So finding it wasn't just a good idea, it was a matter of the highest national security. And right here, in black and white, the deception is just laid bare. The public story was all about environmental surveys, but internal documents like this one right here state the true purpose of the follow-up mission, and I'm quoting, a search for object or missing weapon part. This had nothing to do with ecology. This was all about protecting nuclear secrets. This secret hunt took the whole operation from the surface of the ice down into the dark, completely uncharted depths of North Star Bay. So once the ice finally melted that summer, the Air Force brought in a tiny submersible called the Star 3. The cover story was that they were just monitoring for radioactivity on the seafloor, but really, its crew spent weeks secretly combing the depths looking for that missing Marshall's batten. And here's the really unsettling conclusion to this whole story. They never found it. After that summer in 1968, the search for the missing nuclear component was just called off. Officially, it was never even resumed. A critical piece of a thermonuclear weapon was simply left somewhere on the bottom of the bay. The Thule Incident is such a chilling story, not just of a Cold War catastrophe, but of official secrecy, and it really leaves you with this one lingering question. If a critical nuclear component can be lost to the Arctic depths, with its very existence denied for decades, what other secrets are still out there, just frozen in time?